Hello, and welcome to the 10th episode in our series, The End of the World as You Know It, a condensed version of end time Bible prophecy. I'm your guest lecturer, Dr. Scott Mackenzie, and today we'll discuss Revelation chapter 9, written by the Apostle John. As you read this book, it's hard to imagine Jehovah Jesus, the Messiah, being so destructive as he brings an end to the New World government. Yet, this is what the prophet Moses was told about Jehovah. There is no God beside me. I put to death and bring to life. I have wounded and I will heal. And no one can deliver out of my hand. I lift my hand to heaven and declare, as surely as I live, when I sharpen my flashing sword and my hand grasp it in judgment, I will take vengeance on my adversaries and repay those who hate me. Rejoice, O nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants. He will take vengeance on his enemies and make atonement for his land and people. And though this was written by the prophet around 1400 BC, Jehovah hasn't changed. He may have lived a gentle life as recorded in the New Testament Gospels, but he will come back a warrior. Sure, it's been 2,000 years, but to Jesus, it's as though it's only been a day or two. How do I know? Listen to the insight Moses has on eternity when he wrote, "For 1,000 years in your sight are like a day that has gone by, or a watch in the night." And then you have the Apostle Peter. He agrees with Moses, and Peter wrote, with the Lord, one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. Why am I saying this? Because you need to understand what you're reading here in the book of Revelation is not out of character for Jehovah. He was a warrior for the Israelis in the Old Testament, and he will be a warrior for the Israelis in the future. John saw this, and he wrote this. And speaking of the book, let's take a look at chapter 9 now as we continue our condensed study of this book called Revelation. Now in chapter 9, it begins with the fifth trumpet sounding, and an angel appears with a key to open what is called the bottomless pit or the abyss. This is when things get really spooky, supernatural, demonic. It's hard for people to believe what you're about to hear next. So let's dig into it. Who's in that pit? Demons are in there. How do I know? Well, let's consider Luke's Gospel chapter 8, where you find 1,000 demons begging Jesus to send them into a herd of pigs instead of that bottomless pit, also referred to as the abyss. Therefore, as far as I know or can understand, there have been demons locked up for thousands of years in that pit, and they're really ticked off. And so in their rage, once they are released, they take the form of locusts. You can see what they look like. It's really weird. And though they're not allowed to touch those who have the seal of God on their foreheads, they are allowed to torment those who are not sealed with a sting like a scorpion's. A sting that will drive people crazy. So for 5 months, they will go throughout the earth, stinging those who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And that's why some believe that the 144,000 who are sealed by God will be active during this time. After all, we've been told this. I thought I'd share it with you because, I thought maybe they would be activated, sealed, if you will, when Moses and Elijah are murdered in Jerusalem. But just to give you a heads up on the other theory out there, they may be already active when this takes place. I thought I'd share it with you because what I said to you earlier was just a theory. So with that said, we move on to the sixth trumpet blast and the releasing of 4 angels on the Euphrates River. Now let's consider who they may be. And as I thought about that, I remember reading in Daniel's book, chapter 10, where there are demonic princes placed by Lucifer over the nations, like in ancient Persia, which today is modern Iran. So is it possible those 4 demonic angels at the Euphrates River were also princes? Better yet, let's call them demonic generals, because they'll be commanding 200 million demonic cavalry soldiers who will be allowed to kill 1/3 of the human race still living. So how can there be supernatural beings riding supernatural horses? I can just hear that question. Consider chapter 19 in the book of Revelation, where John saw Jesus coming out of heaven riding a white horse. The armies of heaven are following him, and they are riding white horses. So why is it easy for folks to accept the return of Jesus to the earth, his second coming, as he's riding a white horse and his army are riding supernatural white horses, and that will enter Earth's atmosphere, but yet you can't believe that there will be an army of 200 million demonic cavalry riding as well? Class, I believe John saw what he saw, and he wrote down what he saw. Now, as you read this chapter, you'll discover those demons will kill 1/3 of the folks living on the earth who aren't sealed by God on their foreheads. Why do I say that? Well, if God didn't allow those who were sealed to be stung by demons looking like grasshoppers, I'm sure he won't let them be killed by these demonic riders. And though 1/3 of the world's population dies, the folks who survive will refuse to repent and submit to the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings. Which brings us to the end of chapter 9. I hope you'll join us next time as we will take a look at Revelation chapter 10. Until then, remember what Jesus said, "Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me." Farewell, my friends. Thank you.